Welcome, Lisa St. Lude, for joining. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
So, I know you are in the beautiful city of Paris, or Paris, as some say. So,
Or Paris.
Paris, I gotta get that
You
sound
got
a bit better.
you
So,
gotta
my
hawk a
French isn't
loogie.
very good.
You gotta hawk that loogie, girl.
Yeah, it's and coming from Canada, people are like, "Oh, you speak French." I'm like, "Not the French part. I'm from the Western part, so I
Mm,
don't speak French." And apparently French Canadian is different French than France, and so people wouldn't understand anyway. So uh,
it's
it's
very
it's
different.
okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
So why did you choose France? And then more specifically, why Paris out of all the beautiful cities that are in France?
Oh, that's a good question. Because I mean, there's a lot of goodness all around Paris. I mean, all around France. I mean, it's
Mhm.
Provence is amazing. The south of France is obviously breathtaking, and you're by the water, which I know you love.
Yes.
But Paris, it's always been a part of my heart since high school French with that one great teacher you have, that just opens your whole
Mhm.
mind up to the possibilities of life. And I just love the language so much, and I love all things beautiful. And so, who doesn't, right? I mean, but that's what started the love was a great teacher, and then I sort of just pulled away from it, did the New York thing, married, kids, divorce, new life, great partner now, and we came here on a faux honeymoon because we're not married and we're not going to get married, but it was 2 weeks of magic. Like we came to Paris for a week and we went to Cannes for a week,
Okay.
and everywhere we went, we're musicians, we're writers, but I'm a soul singer, so we just pop into bars and just he'd sit at a piano and we just sing our faces off, and people would just start pouring in. They would pour in, and it was like this love affair with great music. And we don't
Mhm.
get that in America. We don't get that in New York City. It's, the whole music scene has changed. It's not, you have to fight your way on all of the socials, and you have to just like claw your way to get heard. And here it's just sort of, it's loved. People love great music. And so that's what started us on this idea, right? To come to
Okay.
Paris. And this is, we're talking like 12 years ago, this started. And so every summer ish, we'd come for a week, then we'd make it 4 weeks with the family. Then we'd make it 4 weeks with the family, and then we're going to tack on 2 weeks for ourselves. And then about a year and a half ago, we're like, are we going to try this? Because we have an opportunity to see what it's really like to live there. And my son is a junior in high school right now. And our two other boys are just starting college. So I rented my house out in Brooklyn, and we got the visas approved, which was scary and horrible. And my son got into a good school, and we're living the life, and it's the dream, and there's also lots of nightmares.
It's when a lot of times when I see stuff, whether it's like YouTube channels, magazines, things like that, and all of them in a lot of ways paint it, everything's rainbow and butterflies. Every
Yeah,
time, whenever I'm like, if there's rainbows and butterflies, where's the unicorns? Because I know that there are challenges. I mean, there's challenges in our home countries that
right.
sometimes we go through. So if we think that we're going to move abroad and it's just going to be like some Hollywood movie and everything's going to be smooth and wonderful and beautiful, you're going to be in for a little bit of a harsh reality check because
Right.
there are going to be moments of that, absolutely. And there's going to be moments of struggles and I hate this, and did I make a mistake, and this is so stupid, because that's what we call life.
Well, and also that idea of wherever you go, there you are, right? I forgot what
Yes,
genius said that, but it's the truth.
that is true.
It doesn't matter. You're still with yourself. You still got your thoughts. You still got your fears. You still have all of your anxieties about what's going on and how you're going to get through it. And that
Mhm.
does not change. But it tastes a little better with a croissant in your mouth.
Oh, yes,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And like a freshly baked baguette with just camembert and like the simple things here. This is another thing is, everyone knows that Italy's got great food and France has great food and Spain has great food, right? But America has lost the plot on food,
Mhm.
on taking care of their people, right? With nutritious food without, Monsanto cancer causing things in it and all of the things that are making us allergic to everything and blah, blah. I could go on for days on that.
Right.
But, you come here and there's still an ounce of that left, right? You still have like,
Mhm.
it's changing, but it's still like they care about their things. They care about what they put in their bodies. They care about recycling, but actually do.
Right.
Like
Not just pretend to put it in a container and ship it to another country.
what is happening? So it's interesting. There have been the little cauchemars, the little nightmares here and there. Like, we've been here now 5 weeks almost, and so it's still fairly new, but we know that things operate at a different pace.
Right.
America and New York City especially is like bam, 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 get out of my way, F this, F that, mother effer, like and things are slower here. People
Mhm.
enjoy things more, they appreciate things more. And I think that that's one of the reasons why I think anybody wants to get out of what they're used to and into something
Right.
completely unknown, because you are a foreigner, you are looking at things differently, you are seeing all the little things that the people here take for granted, right?
Mhm.
And here, like just today, for the last 2 days straight, it has been pouring rain,
Oh,
pouring rain.
really?
Like, Parisians usually just don't take umbrellas anywhere. They pretend it's not raining when it is. It's quite lovely actually. And I've caught myself in rainstorms when I'm running in the park, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm out already, and I'm not going back home, so I'm gonna just take it. But when the sun shines here, you see why Monet, you see why, Chagall, you see why all these artists love Paris and they love Provence, they love France, because
Mhm.
everything is like it's like a wonderland picture.
Mhm.
It's not as harsh. Somebody, we know an artist friend who he's wonderful, and he described it as the light is softer here. And you do see that. You see that the colors just sort of blend and the beauty just blends, and everyone is out sucking in that sunshine whenever they can grab it. Like for real, like they will just leave work and not go back to just lay on the hill in the sun. And I love that. I think that we lose that, and being in New York City, I think I've gone to all of this tourist sites maybe once because family members wanted to. But here, you are still a kind of a tourist, and things are still new and exciting, and the curiosity is ignited again. And I think that's hard to do when you're an adult and you've been through it and you're pushing 50 and you're like, is this it?
It, I find too, kind of North America in general, it really is the grind of
Yeah.
work your job, do your side hustle. You got to be making money, and I get we need to be making a certain amount, but it seems that there's more of a push too of just buy, 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 buy
Yeah.
of stuff because it'll make you happy. You'll be, the envy of the neighborhood, and put your big ass TV screen empty box outside so your neighbors all know that you got this massive TV that you didn't need
You
and that
didn't
you probably
need.
most people, you couldn't afford. So you put it on a credit card, but it's going to cost you so much more. And nobody cares that you have it. And after a couple of weeks, you're like, yeah, it's the TV.
Well, what's interesting? I've noticed in every people's houses we've been to, am I speaking English? In people's homes we've been to, just private friends and people we've met, there are no televisions in their living rooms. I've yet to see one. I mean, I know they're watching something, but they're probably watching it on a tablet, or maybe it's in their bedroom. I don't really know. I'm not like snooping around people's houses, but they don't have it there. They have their family time when they have their family time.
Mhm.
It's just a completely different like priority mindset here. And like you just said order something, and you have it delivered in the big box. Like we're I'm going to get to the coffee problem in France, but for now we're having one. And I had to buy a grinder. Okay. And I'm like,
Okay.
finally we're gonna figure this out. I'm not a giver upper. So I buy I'm looking for a coffee grinder, and I said to my partner, I go, hey, I'm just gonna get a grinder on Amazon or something. And I go on to Amazon and I see my account pull up from America, like the one that I have
Okay.
normally.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, it's going to be here in like 2 days. That's not bad. So, but then I have to change it to be France.
Yeah.
As soon as I hit put it in the basket and I'm going to check out, it's 2 weeks. I kid you not. I kid you not. 2 weeks for a delivery from Amazon. No,
Oh, were they sending it from the US or did you change your account to
no,
Amazon.fr?
no. I did it .fr. I was
Okay.
pretty clear that everything's in French. I know
Okay. Yeah. You
I
see,
was
yeah.
like,
That's
this is why
surprising
people
though.
don't use it here. It takes 10 times as long. It was like this. So French. So French.
Yeah. Well, I get, and I find though in Europe in general, like I mean, yes, there's still a lot of people who do order from Amazon. Um, but it's not nearly as much as the shopping culture, and it's not that immediately need it now. Like if I need it now, I'll go to the store,
Right.
look at what they have and get it. But they are more, as you said, like family, community, um, outdoor living,
Mm-hmm.
they're not at home as much. So all of those things is what I really enjoy because Spain is very similar.
Right. Do you have, because I've never been. I'm hoping to go
Oh
while we're
my,
here. I know. I
oh,
know. I know.
but it's no, it's okay though. It's well, you haven't been there that long yet, and you did it really well, especially because you have family and kids, and over the years until they got older, that you were spending time and going there, and each time it's like still love it, could do this. And that's a
Mhm.
great way to do it. So for people who are listening or watching, if you have kids that are in school and for you it's not right to move right now with your kids, if that's the decision you make, that's fine. But then on those holidays, Christmas, Easter, summer holidays, whenever people have those breaks, that's great to then go somewhere and be, can I live here? Do we love it? If it's the same city you keep going to, if you're unsure each time, go to either a different city if you know that France is the country you want. Check out different places each time. Or if you're unsure, go to France one year, go to Spain another year, go to Portugal. Like there's so many ways to do it that works for whatever family lifestyle structure that you're at. Because I say to people all the time, like, what chapter are you in right now? Because we all have
Right.
different chapters of life and they change.
They
And
do.
so, work within the chapter that you have right now, however you want it to flow. And then that next chapter will happen, whether you are moving with your kids, you're waiting for them to go to college, whatever it may be, or you whatever it is that you want.
Right. It's so much easier now too. Like to come just for this for a whole summer. Say you come for 6 weeks, right? You could do the home swaps. It's almost nothing. Like the biggest cost now of having Airbnbs are out of control right now in Paris. It's like it's a whole
Everywhere.
sitch.
It's
It's
yeah.
just crazy. And if you try to do that bit long stay, it could add up to a whole lot of money. But there are so many
Mhm,
ways to
mhm.
circumvent that now, to do the home exchange, home swap. There's like three different ones out there now that you could use, and we would have done that had had it worked for us. But we're such a weird, we're staying for a whole year. It's not just like vacation time. And so
Right.
it was
It's a
tough.
lot
I
harder
was just
then.
like, I started it and I was like, this is not working. I'm gonna take it off. So
Well, because whoever you switch with, it either has to be a home that the one that you're using isn't their primary residence, because then they can use
right,
yours kind of part-time, or they have to be able to have that visa, green card, whatever it is for them to stay for a year in the United States. And so those long-term
right.
ones are harder. But if it's a month, 2 months, even in some cases, 3 months, one thing that I do, so right now, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee as we're recording this, and I do pet sitting. And I've
Oh,
traveled to
that's so
many
smart.
countries. I love pets. I grew up with them. I've had them almost all my life, but I love traveling and doing things. So now I look at pet sits. And so I had one in Austin, Texas for a month. I just in a condo to look after two cats. I'm now, as I said, in Nashville, one cat. It was only supposed to be 3 months, which not only, like it's a long time, but the owners have had some health issues, so they haven't been able to make it back. I had emergency surgery a few weeks ago, so it kind of worked out on both ends. And so I'm not sure exactly when I'm leaving, but I'm in a house and
Wow.
I look for longer term ones. I haven't done the home swap yet. I do have a place in Montenegro. I didn't know that I would this year. I didn't know I would be gone this long. But yeah, you're right. There are so many ways of checking it out and traveling because the accommodation in the hotel is crazy. And what I love about a house or a condo or wherever I'm pet sitting, I cook most of the time. I go to the grocery store, I
Right.
cook. I can still eat out if I want, and I'm still working, right? So I'm kind of living in the city, the area, and for me, it's more because I like to travel and potentially meet clients and meet up with friends and things like that. But it's how I've been traveling for almost 10 years.
That's a genius idea. I never would have thought. I mean, that is super cool. I'm allergic to everything, so I could never do it, but
Oh,
but I
well,
love
it's
that
not for
idea. It's so
everybody. No.
smart. You so your house in Montenegro, you're rolling around all over the place.
Yeah.
What's going on with because like when we came here, obviously we had to deal with healthcare. What do you do, right?
Yes.
And I'm a freelance person, so I pay a boatload of money every month just to keep myself covered in America for a very very little coverage. uh,
Yeah.
I'm not even knocking on wood because there's nothing to knock on. It's just terrible. And then you know to come here for the year, I
Mhm.
had to get catastrophic, which is like $600 or something, right, for the whole year in case something happens. But healthcare
Yeah.
is so cheap here. I can go to a doctor for like $40 and get my prescription for 10, and I would still be paying that anyway if I have to go to a doctor in America. So it's like
Right.
that I'm
And the
saving
prescription
thousands
was
of
probably more than
dollars.
10 in America.
It depends on what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting when you really look at the numbers, and I don't
Yeah.
know, who might be listening to this, but I wish we would have done it sooner. Our circumstances, like if I had my whole family unit still, if I hadn't gotten divorced, and it would have been easier to travel, I would have done it sooner because it's so good for children. It's so good to get them in if you're going to get them in a school to do it
Mhm.
and then be bilingual, which I think is so much harder to do in America. It's like
Yeah.
you really have to seek it out and make it happen versus you just throw yourself in something and your kids will the experience of that is so much more valuable than school even. It's like
Absolutely.
wow, but you don't even think about like if you think oh okay, I can never do that, it's too expensive, like really break it down because we did. And I think just by saving on not paying for my health insurance every month, on not a car payment, on not my car insurance, on like I'm spending half I'm spending on a rental here than my mortgage is in Brooklyn. So I'm making money by
Hmm.
being here. And you
It's
just,
crazy to think
when
that.
you look out, you're like, oh, Paris is so expensive. I'm like, you know what? New York is so expensive. And the food costs are a third of the price here.
And I say that to people too. It's like you have to look at the big picture. Like you can't just say, okay, a little bit you can say rent to rent, but are you having the same type of home, apartment, how you're living, and
Right.
taxes and food? I said, you can't, I don't look at it that detailed. I mean, you can kind of, as you're breaking it down, to know what you're spending, but then you have to think like you go through and you write down all of your expenses, every single thing that you're paying for in your home country. And then you look at another country and you write down every single thing again. And then you look at the bottom line because once you add up, your mortgage that you have, the property taxes that you pay, your
Right.
car payment, your maintenance, your insurance, your food, your parking if you're paying for that, like
Right.
whatever else, those things like your gym membership, all of it that you're locked into for a year, which not always in
Hmm.
Europe you can go month to month, like all of those things, and your total is going to be X. And then if you
Right.
look at France, Spain, Italy, Mexico, Costa Rica, like wherever you want to
Hmm.
go, and you say, okay, I'm going to look online for houses. What I like is roughly going to cost me X amount. And you put that in and you look at all of those expenses and see where you're at. And then to include, well, okay, what's all my income? if I'm renting my place, how much am I going to get for rent? Does
Right.
that cover my rent, or am I making more money off of it? Right.
Right.
Or do I sell? Is it like, I'm not really sure. So you know what? I'm just going to sell. And then I'm going to maybe buy something or just put it in the bank for now, invest it for a year or two, rent places, check it out. And maybe by selling, then that gets you that residency very easily because you've got a lot of money in the bank. And,
Right.
like there's just so many ways to look at it. But people sometimes just look at one thing and say, oh, it's so expensive. Like Paris is so
Right.
expensive. It's like, well, it's compared to what?
Compared to what?
London, New York, Hong Kong, Singapore. No,
Right.
it's not.
Right.
I mean, compare it to if you're living in I'm going to use the word very loosely, an inexpensive city in North America, which
Which
I don't know if that really even exists, but we'll
mm,
say an inexpensive city, small kind of town city, then yes, getting a place in Paris is going to be more expensive for the place. But if you don't have a
right.
car payment, if you're not paying insurance, if you're not paying, a number of things, then it's like, what's the bottom line? If you
Right.
just look at one thing, it may not make sense. But when you have to look at all your numbers, and then there's
Right.
just part of what would it be like for you to have a lifestyle that you like?
Right.
Going to a place that you enjoy and you enjoy being there. What I love about Europe, most of the cities, it's very outdoors. Like there's so many cafes. You sit outside, even in Barcelona winter, like their winter, it does get cold, but not Canada cold. And there's heaters and they have blankets and people sit outside all year round,
All year round. All
all
year
year
round.
round.
It is, that's the other thing is, in America, going back to Amazon, the Amazon culture, and then since COVID, everyone is so insular now. I mean, as writers, we
Mhm.
write, we create from our home. So we don't leave a lot. Like we just order on Amazon. Don't have to go to the store. It's too far anyway. Blah blah blah. Right? Like go to the grocery store. Yeah, we do that in Brooklyn. We have that car thing going on where we live in Brooklyn, which is easier. But like everyone is sort of you go to a like a one-stop shop kind of Walmart if you're living out in Timbuktu, middle of America, right? Or
Yeah.
Target, you can get everything there. Or you're going to your grocery store and then that's it. You don't really have to leave the house go get anything. And you don't even have to do that. You can order that online now too. I feel like our
Hmm.
culture has just gotten more and more and more like insular
Yeah.
as we go along. And here, I was just telling Tor about this. It's like we go out, you have to go everywhere for everything. You have to. But it's all right there for you. The boucherie, the fromagerie, the boulangerie, even the monoprix, which is kind of like a concept store. You do have a grocery store, but then you have like housewares and a couple of things, right? There's a
Hmm.
we're literally on our street. We have every single thing right in front of us. We have our cafe on the corner that we sit at for our cafe creme at 3 o'clock, or I'm writing for 3 or 4 hours there. Like I'm talking to people, I am interacting with people, I am seeing people's faces, I know their names. It's so like that scene from I said this in one of my substacks, but it's like that scene from Beauty and the Beast, where she's like bonjour, bonjour, bonjour. Like there's bonjours everywhere, and everyone is connecting. And
Mm.
so I think that culture thing that goes on in a lot of the European cities and towns is that you really get to know your neighbors. You feel responsible for them. You start to love your little community, and we've really gotten so far from that in America. I think we could go deeper on that as far as why we're so divided now, but
Hmm.
like it's really interesting. It's something that I'm cherishing now, and I know that when I have to go back, unfortunately, for my son's senior year of high school, but I don't think we're going to stay there. I think once he's gone, we're gone. And I'm not sure where we're going to go, but you asked why Paris, and Paris is, it's more centrally located. It's easier to fly in and out of.
Yep.
There's more bars to sing in and more places to, we can't make money because we're on a visitor visa, but we can work from our home and do our things that we have for America. And we can go out and just play. And that's why
Have
we
fun.
wanted to be here, have fun. I don't know if I would want to live here. If I had to buy something and really like, oh, we're going to France, we're going to stay in France till we're dead. I think I would probably pick, somewhere in Bourgogne, maybe, or, near maybe Aix-en-Provence or d'Avignon or
I heard
um,
Bordeaux is amazing.
Bordeaux. Bordeaux is
Bordeaux
popping.
is like
Bordeaux is happening now. I haven't been yet, but my cousin lives there and she said
I
it's
haven't been yet
so.
either, but I was considering at one point of relocating to France. And I had talked to some people. I'm like, I really love Paris. And they're like, well, maybe, check out Bordeaux. It's not nearly as
Mm,
expensive. It's so beautiful. It's close to Spain, because I now have so many friends in Barcelona. And I went to Nice and checked it out because I love the water. That's one of my things. And
right.
I just found Nice is nice, but I was like, it's nice.
It's nice.
I just think for me, there because I have a place in Montenegro, I have a place that is like it's quiet. So I go there,
Mm,
I relax, I chill out. It's beautiful. It's by the sea, the mountains, and it's quiet and it's nice. So my other place that I need to have or spend time with is it's usually Barcelona, which is great, but it's big and busy. So for me, Nice just didn't have enough going on busy wise for me to relocate there. I
got
thought it
it.
was nice, but I was just like, within 4 or 5 days, I thought I've seen pretty much everything.
Yeah.
I'm, for me, like, so my ideal is 3 or 4 places in very different cities and countries specifically. Um, and I love busy city, lots going on, stuff. But then I'm just like, okay, I need a break from all the people and stuff. And then I have Montenegro, which is nice and it's quiet. But then I'm like, okay, now I'm bored. And then
Right.
to kind of have that. And it's nice because even from Barcelona, it's only when there's direct flights, which is seasonal, it's like a 2 hour flight.
That's awesome.
Uh,
Yeah, that's
and
great.
completely different lifestyles.
You were living the dream. I mean, for real. Like,
Living the dream.
you're living the dream.
Well, it's not always rainbows and butterflies, but it's.
No, it's not always rainbows and
So,
butterflies.
what have been some of the challenges that you have found um, with being in France? Maybe, I don't know, finding school for your son? Like what kind of things have been kind of challenging for you?
Besides coffee, my son's school was a little tricky because you can't just pop your kid in a public school in France. You just can't. I mean, they have to be bilingual or at least close to it to be able to get through the coursework. So he, his father, God bless him, can afford to send him to private schools. So that was a huge, that was like, thank you
Okay.
God, because he could.
Hmm.
And then even that, and all the research, and I researched the crap out of it, which ones could he even go to? And it really only came down to two. It was the
Okay.
American School of Paris, which is super expensive, but it's on par with the private school he's going to in New York City, which is also outrageously expensive. And then there's another one that's a lesser known school called the Notre Dame School, and it is
Okay.
just outside of Paris. It's in Verneuil-sur-Seine, and it's just to the west. It's about an hour commute to where we are in
Hmm.
Paris. And we're in the 19th, so we're not like even central. We're just a little bit to the east. And he got into both schools, and I let him choose because he's 16 and
Yeah.
I want him to really, like I said, if you go to American School of Paris, it's everything's there for you. It's like they've got the jazz band that you can play your bass in. They've got the sports. They have traveling tennis. They have, you get to go to the other parts of France and like do tournaments, and you've got everything you need. It's exactly the same school you're at in New York City, but in France. And all of his classes would be in English.
Okay.
And then there's this other school called the Notre
Hmm.
Dame School, and it's $20,000 less,
Okay.
and it's a boarding school, but
Oh.
you can choose to go partial time. So he really wanted to do that. It's a French school with an American English speaking curriculum inside of it. So it's a
Okay.
very small group of kids from around the world. That there's like 25 kids in his class right now, but they're from Italy and Poland and Spain and like Florida. So
Yeah.
he's with this really eclectic group of people, which is what he wanted. He wanted something
Mhm.
completely different than he had. And then there's the really hot French girls at the French side of the school who won't speak to him yet until he gets his French better. But that's
Well,
motivation.
that's motivation. Absolutely.
That's
It's
motivation.
motivation.
And he is having the time of his independent freaking life. I
That's
mean,
fantastic.
this kid jumps on his own train, gets back here on Friday nights and sleeps with us and stays in our apartment with me and my partner for all the weekend. And then he goes back at 6:30 in the morning on Mondays.
Okay.
And so he gets to have like the home mom love,
Yep.
and
Yep.
yet go back off on his own. But his friends are grabbing literally a bottle of wine and going to like, Notre Dame or like there's like that park that Notre Dame sits at, like
Yep.
that island, and then there's like that little area at the end that everybody sits on and hangs out. It's so crazy. What a great life. Like
Yeah.
these
What an
kids are
opportunity and
just
experience.
they're having the time of their lives. And so that was, finding the right school for our situation that was cool
Hmm.
with them only coming in for a year and then checking out again. Like it was a wonderful win. But um, you know, that part that was tough. We got through it. And other challenges have been just the French bureaucracy taking forever, like just to get his, Navigo student rated pass that's cheaper than adults and blah blah blah.
Hmm.
Even with I speak French, even navigating that, I had to click it into English because I didn't want to miss anything. But then you click it into English, then all the prompts are wrong. So this took me, I'm not kidding, 2 hours to
Oh
get this
my
kid a
gosh.
freaking Metro card. And and that it's like just stuff like that, and the
Yeah.
French complain about it too. They're very good at complaining, but like it's just the bureaucracy here. You just don't
Hmm.
understand why they have to go XYZ 10 times around the circle to get to the same spot that they could have been in the first place, kind of crap that Americans
Hmm.
just they just get. We
Hmm.
streamline stuff, man. Like we get it done, we see the path and we get it done.
Yeah.
They have to just like I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. Effing, I'm being very good. I'm not cussing on your show.
Yeah.
Effing annoying.
It's
But that's
I can understand that. That's I mean that it's part of living abroad is every country has got stuff that just does not make sense why they do it
no
the way they do it. But I have a question, just to jump back a little bit, with your
about the
son and
coffee. I'm
school.
kidding.
Well, we'll get to coffee next. We'll get to the coffee next. What if so you plan to go back for him to finish his last year? What if he doesn't want to go back? Have you thought about
we've
that?
oh we've thought about it. It's I don't know. It's
Okay.
possible. I do think that my renters in Brooklyn would love to just stay there because, they had to, they don't want to move for 11 and a half months. And that was a lot of work packing up that house. I'm telling you, like
Oh yeah.
kill yourself kind of work, it took
Mm,
forever. And then going through it all and then the trash piles and then the Goodwill piles and then whoa.
yeah.
Um, it's a daunting undertaking for just a year,
Hmm.
right? To go somewhere.
Hmm.
But I think that would probably be fine. So I think that's covered. My ex-husband would probably be fine with that. He's pretty loose. Um, my son has he has friends. He misses
Hmm.
his
Yeah.
friends. At this point, he still does. And I'm not trying to say that this school's not a great school. I think the Notre Dame school is good, but his chances of getting into a great college I think would be lessened if he were to graduate from the Notre Dame school versus this blah 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 blah. I'm like,
Okay.
there's a part of me as a mom that's like, do you want to do this? And then there's a part of me that's just like, who gives a shit where you go to college?
Well, you have to kind of weigh those potential pros and cons and then maybe
Right.
dig a little bit deeper for, college. Will it matter or university, like where does he want to go? What does he want to do? Will it make a difference? I mean, there's always so many things to think about and then kind of those ripple effects as well. And nothing is easily just black and white, make a decision.
It's
There's
not.
definitely lots of things to think about.
I mean, he has proposed. He's really growing into this whole like I'm a big shot, independent, almost man now.
Mhm.
He's like, I've already thought about that, Mom. I figured out a way that you guys could stay here and everything would be fine. Is that you stay here and I just go back to New York and do my senior year by myself in a studio apartment. Like, the same thing. Same smile and same expression I had on my face when he said that when he ordered a strawberry margarita right in front of my face at the bar last week. was like, I was like, what?
Well, that's why he's loving it because you got to be 21 in New York.
I was like, what are you doing? And I mean, part of me was like, just let him. Who cares? But then I was like, you can't let him do this. And then, like, I don't care. Anyway,
You know what
I
though, but
don't know.
you can let him. I remember being in Costa Rica and my parents came for Christmas. My daughter was, I think, about 15 at the time. We had been there a couple of years. She was 13 when we first moved there, and they tried to offer her a shooter. And I'm like, what? No. And she's 13.
Right.
No. And by the time she was 15, I remember she was like, we were all out for dinner and I can't remember what the drink was. It was some type of mojito, but it was a really sour fruit. And I'm just pulling a blank on it right now. But she's like, oh, Mom, they have blah blah blah, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, if you want one, go ahead. I'm like, go ahead. My
Yeah.
mom's like, what? And I said, oh, she wants a whatever mojito drink. And she's like, she can't have that. There's alcohol in it. I'm like, she can have it. She's gonna order it, and she's probably not even gonna finish it.
That's
And
exactly what happened to my son.
exactly what happened. And even when we would go out too in places like we'd go to the sports bar, because there anybody can go in, right? It was small town, so it didn't matter. Anybody can go in. And a couple of times she would order a drink, and it was usually like a mojito is what she would have. And because the first 2 years I was like, she can't have alcohol, whatever. That after they would look at me and I'd say, you know what, like mom, with or without alcohol. And sometimes I would say with, but a little bit,
Yeah.
because in some of those places they pour ridiculous. So I'd
Yeah.
be like, just a little bit. And I would say 90% of the time, she never ever finished the drink. It was just to have something. And I found too, then when she went back to Canada and she could go to the bars, it was
Yeah.
not really a big deal because she's like, yeah, I've been to kind of lounge places or bars or sports bars in Costa Rica. I've had a drink with dinners before, and so what? Like, I think
Right.
that's a bit of a problem where we see a lot. Of course, everybody's different, but we see a lot of all of a sudden they can drink. And so they're in
Yeah.
Canada, it's 18, right? In some provinces, it's
Oh,
18, others are 19. But then all of a sudden people can. And so these kids, they just start drinking a ridiculous amount because
yep.
this is what it's all about. And they don't know how. When in other cultures, I find it happens less. Now, there's still, we still have people that get ridiculously drunk and young ones, but those ones I find that have it with their family, a little bit of wine with
Yeah.
dinner, those types of things, it's not that big of a deal because they can go. Like I remember when we were visiting Italy and she was 3 years old. And we went out and they're like, and I'm like, oh, I can't go. I have a child. They're like, no, bring her. It's a bar, but it's not like a nightclub bar.
Right.
But it
Right.
was a bar.
Right.
And I'm sitting there and I'm feeling all weird and uncomfortable. And then she's like, Mommy, I need to go to the bathroom. I'm like, no, you don't. She's like, no, but I need to go. And I'm like, and I felt so weird, like walking her through. And I'm like, everybody's going to be staring at us, going, what is she doing with that kid in here? They even looked at us
Nobody can. No, everyone does
because,
it.
and there were other kids in there too, because they
Hmm.
do things as a family and friends and community. And you go, and it's not like the kids are drinking. She had, I don't
Right.
know, probably an orange juice or something. And we had, I think, one or two drinks. And then we all
Yeah.
left. And that's what they do. So it is very different culturally that way as well.
Right. Right. We're losing time, so I have to get in the coffee.
I was just gonna say that we're getting close.
Don't,
So tell me the coffee.
don't, don't think. I'm saying this directly to the camera. I'm not looking at you. Don't think that you're going to get the coffee that you're used to from home. Let it go. It's dead to you. It's never coming back. So just accept it and be a part of the culture and drink their shitty coffee. Oh, I said shit.
Is it
Drink
really
it.
shitty coffee in France?
It's just they don't understand. First of all, they don't understand like cream. There, so there's just a quick story is that we came here. We have a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
Airbnb, but the guy, the couple that owned this apartment, it was like their second Airbnb person was me ever. They
Okay.
used to live here. It's exactly how it looks on the pictures, which never happens. And they're
Mhm.
so nice, like so nice. And so he said, "What do you need for when you get here tomorrow?" And I go, "Just coffee and cream. That's it. That's all we need. We're good otherwise." This is very important to us.
Mhm.
I get up in the morning and the coffee is Nespresso, which doesn't suck. Nespresso's fine, but then the cream was sour cream. And
Oh,
so and so then there's the quest for the coffee, and then we went and got different cream. But it's not right. It's creme fraiche. And so then it's just milk. And that's not cream. It's not even half and half. And then it's creme entier, which is whole milk. It's just milk. And then it's oh, we found a brûlerie. We found a brûlerie, right? They had brûlerie with a fancy coffee, but that shit's 17 euros a pound.
oh.
We go to a place and get a drip coffee maker. It doesn't stay on for the 2 hours like ours do. Like say you get a Mr. Coffee and you program it, it
Mhm.
comes up, wake up, coffee's made like somebody made it for you, and it's 2 hours of hot time, right? That this thing
That's not
shuts
coffee
down.
culture in France. That's American coffee culture. Like,
Look, look, it's all we want. Okay. Now it's come to this. We've got it goes off in 40 minutes. You can't keep a pot hot. You gotta throw it in a pan and put it on the stove to keep it hot. So don't think you're getting half and half. You're not. You're barely getting regular milk. And if that's fine with for you, that's fine. But now we have a thing with my kids when they're going to come visit from the other parts of America. I'm sending them our coffee and I'm sending them our creamer, and they're bringing it to us at Christmas, and that's our Christmas gift.
well,
So there you go.
that's part of living abroad. When I lived in Costa Rica, I made a list of things that I either couldn't get or were ridiculously expensive. And so
Right.
when everybody came at various times throughout the year, I would say, okay, here's a list of things that we would like pick, just surprise us. Like, don't get the whole list, but just pick a few things off it. So we have a nice surprise of what we're getting. It's kind of like Christmas all the time when people are coming. Plus, we need a couple bags of dill pickle chips because you couldn't get them in Costa Rica. And my daughter loved them. And so it was a few bags of dill pickle chips and then off the list, whatever's convenient that you
Mm-hmm.
can, within your, when you're out and about on your daily, whatever, to pick up. But that is part of it. But coffee culture, I find even like Spain, Italy's a little bit different because you pay more if you sit down to have your coffee. They stand at the counter and have
Mm.
it. Spain is has similar places, and it's very much like one small, like an
Yes.
espresso or a little bit bigger. Like
Yes.
they're not cups of coffee. They would look at that and be like, "What the heck?
What are
That's
you doing?
ridiculous." Right. And so, and it is, you have one. And so, and there's no free refills. You buy a
No.
coffee, you drink it. And if you want another one, you buy another coffee and they're made fresh. They don't want something that's been
Yeah.
sitting on heat for 2 hours. That's no good to them. Right. Like that, it's completely different coffee culture. So
It's true. It's a thing.
it's one of those adjustments. And, you know, you never know. By the time you'll probably get used to it, and then you'll go back and you'll be like, what is this crap coffee
What
that
are
they
we
have in
doing with this?
America?
Truly, that's what's I'm not I'm gonna knock on wood on that because I want that to happen.
You know what I have heard is the coffee beans everywhere in Europe are of a higher quality than they are in North America because they make sure that all the beans are mold free, which in America
Mm,
they don't care. And so all the coffee beans are sold initially to the European countries because with the European Union, they
right.
buy basically the best beans And then what Europe doesn't buy are sold to North America and then whatever countries after that.
Wow, we're getting
Unless you're specifically like,
rejects.
I'm here and I just spent $30 for half a pound of beans in the United States
Oh my
because they were
God.
mold free and infused with some minerals. And I mean, it's ridiculous what I spent, but I don't really drink a ton of coffee. I'll have like one, maybe two, and not even every day. So it was ridiculous, but I definitely noticed a difference
Oh
in
my
in
God.
the beans and the coffee. I Since I've been living in Europe, every time I come back, I'll drink black coffee. And in Europe, no problem. I like it every time I come back to North America if I'm out. I've even said one time when I was at a restaurant, I'm like, can I just try your coffee first to sip? And I took a sip and I was with my friend. I'm like, oh my God, that's disgusting. I was like, I'm sorry, I don't mean that. I said, can I get a cappuccino? Because at least then I can put some sugar in it and then milk
Yeah,
and then it's
yeah.
drinkable. But if you start to drink like black coffee, you really notice the difference. And I find if it's bad, I just put in sugar and milk and then I don't notice when I'm in North America. But when I'm in Europe, I easily drink black coffee.
Wow. Well, it all comes back to the coffee.
All comes back to coffee.
Ah,
So just very quickly, so you're a musician and do you have music out that people can buy or where they can follow you or listen to
yeah,
you or
man.
find you and not stalk you?
I don't stalk me, please. I welcome it. I don't need followers. I need stalkers. I have it's out on everything: Deezer, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. Lisa St. Lou, ST period LOU like the city. There it's out there. I just had a new album come out last month called Oh Dang. It's a sort of disco pop soul record. And I have an old soul record that was out 3 years ago. I have a French album out. And I have a Substack that I write all about things in life called Laughing Matters. And I write a lot about this experience. So if you want more, it's yours. And anyone listening that wants to mention your show can get a year's worth of all of the VIP treatment on that. So there you
Wow, that's
go.
fantastic. And we'll make sure to put links to everything to make it easy for everybody to connect with you.
Awesome. This was so much fun.
It was. Thank you very much for your time and, some great insights and things for people to think about if they want to move specifically to Paris or France or just anywhere in general to have those things to think about.
Got to think about them. Don't just jump off the cliff or do. Or do.
Or do. It's up to you, whatever works for you.
Yeah.